opening statement. We'll open it up for questions. Please state your name and affiliation when you have a question. Thank you.
I want to start off by sending our prayers and well wishes to all the people in our city that have been affected by the storms over the weekend. And I know a lot of them are getting power back, but I know there are some that are still without power. So we here in Memphis football and our university, we're praying for you guys. I want to thank the mayor and our community, Memphis Light and Gas, and all the first responders that are doing a heck of a job trying to clear trees and get everyone power back as quickly as possible. So thank you for your efforts. Obviously, some things are bigger than football, and a lot of people right now are going through a tough time. So prayers to them. Then we want to make sure we give congrats to our men's soccer team. A phenomenal victory over North Carolina last night. True definition of suffer well, had to move locations. I don't know if you can say spot the soccer ball, but they put the ball on the pitch and played a phenomenal game. So hats off to those guys. They're doing a phenomenal job of setting the pace of the expectation of athletics and performance here at the university. So continued success to them and wishing coach and his staff all the luck moving forward. Game week. Obviously excited about the opportunity. We have appropriate fear for our opponent, which is the fear of respect, which is a respect of the opportunity, respect of the opponent themselves, respect of the opportunity to go play as a team, respect enough to prepare like this is the last game we'll ever get to play, respect enough to understand that how we prepare will dictate how we're able to go out and execute. Biggest thing I've been talking to the guys about is we've got to maximize Tuesday. It's all we can control right now. Obviously, everyone knows there's a game Saturday. Everyone knows there's implications to that game and how exciting and how big of an opportunity that is, but we can't affect Saturday today. All we can do is focus on Tuesday, focus on maximizing the opportunity to go out and practice really well, focus on maximizing the opportunity to meet really well, take our academics and maximize that opportunity, take care of our bodies, to give us better position for Wednesday. So I think the players have kind of understood that because that's kind of been our model all the way through, even back to spring ball and to fall camp. Control what you can control today. We all know that there's a game on Saturday, but thinking about the game on Saturday is not going to allow you to maximize or be in the moment today. So really excited about the opportunity. With that, open up for questions.
Frank Bond, Daily Memphian. I know you're big on players responding to certain things, suffering well. Did you guys get impacted from your guys' preparation schedule with the storm and power outages or anything like that?
We were actually at the stadium doing a kind of a mock game day operation, so we had actually got to work our lightning storm plan that we have, because we got there and we were going through the exact timeline that we would have for the game, and kind of just as we got there, the storm hit, so we had to do the delay. So we taught them our locker room protocol for lightning delays, and then we got to go out and do it. And then when we got back, a lot of our players were without power. Most of them have either been displaced thanks to the university or have power back now. We showed up on Sunday and we had to move our meeting location because of the power outage. And like we talked about, you can suffer well, right? We can talk about what's not right or how bad it is to go a few hours without power, or we can talk about maximizing the opportunity we have, right? We don't know when the power is going to go out, so you got to maximize the opportunity you have. So I wouldn't say affected, but definitely kind of had to adjust some of the plans we had, not affected to where guys are out for weeks. I've been in situations. Actually, when I was in college, Hurricane Isabel hit, and we were displaced for weeks. So we weren't to that level, but there was some adjusting the schedule kind of when it started.
How did you feel that the team and the players handled going through
I thought it was great. I mean, you think sitting in the locker room for an hour would bore them, but I mean, there was rap contests. press, there was, whenever they do this slap box deal where you look right, look left, I mean, there were guys, kind of just hanging. So I thought it was good. It really shows that they truly understand what we've been preaching. It's not going to go perfect. And don't get me wrong, you can't create game day adversity, but you can create life situations to teach how to handle adversity. They came in Sunday, they were fired up. We sent the message they were meeting across the street. Everybody was there on time. We met. Penny spoke to the team on Sunday. Same energy that you would think they would have on game week, if that makes sense. So it was good. The adults, we were more logistically, hey, what if this power's out until Wednesday? What if the power's out until Thursday, coming up with plans? We didn't have to use them, but the kids were great.
Coach Greg Anderson, Tucker Radio Network, Sports 56. Mullen, do you have any past experiences with Dan? You know him well, and what type of challenges does Mullen coach Steve face?
I don't know him personally. I have met him. Obviously, in the coaching profession, when you have good coaches, you kind of know of them. We followed him at Mississippi State, kind of coming after him. I had a chance to meet him in his TV broadcasting stint that he had, but can't say that I've had a beer with him or that I could pick up the phone and call him and ask him what the weather is out there today. But do have a lot of respect for him. Everywhere he's been successful, regardless of what the picture may be portrayed to be. He's recruited at a high level. When we got to Mississippi State, there were a lot of really, really good football players there. Actually, we inherited the #1 defense in the country when we got there. His offensive prowess has been consistent throughout, all the way back to his offensive coordinator days. He's going to challenge you offensively. He's going to have answers. He's going to find ways to get his players in the best position. He's been able to do it consistently with multiple different players. What he was able to do at Mississippi State offensively and what he was able to do at Florida offensively. We know we're in for a challenge. Regardless of what we see on film or what we think, he's going to have ways to create advantages for his guys scheme-wise, and he does a good job of using his personnel, right? He's going to use all the guys on his team that can create value, which I think is a sign of a great football coach. When you are not so locked into what you do, but you find ways to use the players on your team that can help you.
Anthony with WeDon'tBluff.net. At the beginning of camp, you were excited about the Rodell test. Leading up to the game, I'm assuming that test has happened. Your thoughts after that? Did anybody impress you?
Yeah, I think we're a physical team. I think a big piece of that is it's easy to fight your brother because you know him. It's hard to walk into a bar and just pick a guy out. You got to be tough to do that. So we're gonna have to go be physical and tough against some guys that we just maybe not know. I feel comfortable about it. What I'm more concerned with now is now that I know that we're physical, I know that we're tough, how do we respond? Right? It's one thing to go in and good or bad. Right? You go in, you knock a guy back, you go in, you make a big play. How do you respond? You go in and you get hit. Right? And there's gonna be they got some Rodells too, right? So you go in, you get hit. How do you respond? So I'm more concerned. I'm not as concerned with how tough we'll be or how physical we'll be. I'm concerned with how are we going to respond. The game's not going to go perfect. We're not going to go out there and they end up with 0 yards and 0 points and never move the ball. They've got really good players. They've got really good coaches. They're going to challenge us. And how do we respond to that challenge collectively, not just one side of the ball or the other? I've been talking to them all camp about, what happens in any game when we're down X amount of points? How do we respond? What happens in any game when we're up X amount of points? How do we respond? So that's the question that you can't really manufacture in practice. Obviously we have different type of situational periods where you try to see them respond, but you don't know until the game. You can't manufacture game speed. You can't manufacture a game plan on the other side that you really don't know. So that's my biggest, I guess, kind of test. How do we respond? And how we respond in this game, win or lose, will determine how the season goes. That's what we've got to be able to understand. That's the question that I can't answer. How are they going to respond? Right? They're tough. They're physical. I know they'll respond. Next week, come back, get ready to practice. But in that moment, when you have a good play, how do you respond? In that moment, when things don't go right, how do you respond? That's the question.
John Maddox, Montgomery, Memphis, Sports Report. We talked last week about, you can't really watch film because everything's different. So what are the logistics of you preparing for a team that, there's just not a lot to watch?
Yeah, you got to spend a lot of time on yourself. You got to spend a lot of time dissecting your schemes, your rules, your adjustments. And you're really kind of just giving, I would say, what you think may happen. There are some plays that they run that maybe they only ran it because they had certain players. There's some plays that they run that maybe it's part of their DNA. But you're really just testing your rules, your checks, your adjustments. It's really how much do we know about ourselves? And then you've got to, hopefully the player's experience can kind of react, right? Certain formations equal certain things. Certain alignments on defense equal certain things. So we spend a lot of time focused on our rules, our adjustments. Now, that doesn't allow you to carry a lot because you can't have your entire playbook and all the adjustments and pieces. So we have a very small game plan, and we've got to execute that game plan to whatever we see. Every game there's going to be tweaks and adjustments, but you can't make tweaks on 175 things, as the game's going on. So we've been focused on what we do well player-wise, what they can adjust to, what they understand, and then, you hate to say it, then you got to kind of see what happens. As far as what do they do, okay, how do we respond to that? Collectively as players and coaches, the plays we're calling don't fit what they're doing, we got to, adjust. Or we've got to remind our players that, hey, the rules to this play versus this look are. That's what
Jarvis Greer, Titan Football Radio. I asked you at the beginning of the camp, we finally get young transfers coming in, but you do have a core group that came with you from Marshall's Miz. Would they be able to help shepherd the other guys through? Did you see that during camp, that they were able to help the other guys with the health?
Yeah, they did. They really helped. When we got into game week, what does it look like from each day of practice? What does it look like with our film study? What does it look like taking care of your body? Like we have certain days of the week that are work days, more intenseful than others. They understand that if we get to Thursday and we haven't fully grasped something schematically, we're probably not going to run it. So they've done a good job of kind of teaching guys the flows of the day. They did a really good job of teaching them as camp went on. Hey, this is, we're in the fall now. The next 3 days are going to be really, really tough. You got to take care of your body. Once we get through these days, we start focusing more on situational. So they've been good. And one thing I thought they've probably done the best job of is not being Huff guys. Like they're complying with the Memphis way. The way we did things at Marshall, the way that we did things at Southern Miss, we're not doing them the exact same here because this is a different scenario, right? Are there some similarities? Yeah. But we've changed some things because of where we are. And they have conformed to the Memphis way, right? They're Memphis football players, and they're not Huff guys. I think when you get that, you get a little bit of a divide in the locker room. They've done a really good job of conforming to the Memphis ways of doing things, which I think has helped them kind of be accepted by everybody, if that makes sense.
Coach, the first game for you, do you kind of envision yourself running out of the tunnel for the first game? Is there anything like preparation-wise you do, like whether it's sleep, whether it's anything you do for the first game of the season?
Worry. I haven't slept in like 2 weeks. Whether we had power or not, I didn't need it because I was just sitting up looking at the ceiling. So, no, I mean, as a head coach, once we get on the plane, I'm like the most helpless person in the world at that point. We can't practice again. We can't, run another play. I can't go to the waiver wire and bring another player in. Like, and I say that, the motivational speeches that people talk about, like that lasts for about a minute and a half. Like it gets you running out of the tunnel fired up. But then there's a play. Like no one remembers what coach said in the locker room, before a game, unless he says something like, "Hey, we win this game, everybody gets Chick-fil-A." You're a little kid, you're like, "Man, we're getting Chick-fil-A if we win the game," but you don't remember anything he said about winning the game. It was just a Chick-fil-A. So like, I'm the most helpless person in the world come Friday we get on the plane, because at that point, I'm questioning, have I done everything that I could do to give these players, to give these coaches, to give this university, to give this fan base a good product? And really at that point, there's nothing more that you can do. So that's what I worry about. First game, second game, third game, fourth game, the whole time. Have I done everything I could possibly do? Like I go back to Monday. Did I do everything Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? So I don't have any, actually if we didn't have to play games, I would be great. Because I love the practice, I love the preparation, I love the meeting. The game, I mean, I'm literally standing over there just yelling at refs. That's what I do. Every once in a while, I yell timeout. But other than that, I can't catch a ball, I can't tackle a guy. Like you hope that, it's just like with your kids, right? You hope that over an 18-year development period that you've given them everything they need to step out into this world and go be successful. But really, once you drop them off at college, it's like you're just praying at that point. And that's really what it's like. I mean, obviously I have a little bit more to do on game day, but I'm just hoping that from the time we've got them in January to the time we run out on that field, I've done everything that I could possibly do to help them be prepared for that moment. And then the next one, and the next one. So and that's players, coaches, trainers. Have I given BA enough time, to develop them? Have I given the trainers enough time to rehab them? Have I given our player development department enough time to create something beyond this season that they're going to be able to hold on to? Have I given our academic people enough time or enough resources or support to make sure that these guys are holistically prepared? That's what I worry about. I don't worry about an opponent or, hey, that guy over there is fast. I can't control the other sideline. I worry about, have I done everything in my power to get this organization as prepared as possible?
Jeff Hawkins from Philadelphia. How much do you, curious how much you know about the team? Like, for us, it's a mystery. Like, the stadium's a mystery, you're a mystery, the players are all a mystery. So yeah, how much is it, how much do you know?
I know a lot. I know who's going to be starting quarterback, I know who's going to start running back, I know who's going to start center. I know who you can bark at, I know who needs to be, kind of pulled to the side and talked to. I know who's got problems at home that show up in the building, even though they may not say that. I know who's got kids. I know a lot. And it's by design that you guys don't yet, because it's my job, just like with your children. You have to protect these guys until they're ready. Obviously, at the end of the game, everybody's going to know who the starting quarterback is. There'll be 6 articles, and then you'll be on to how bad we played. That's what you guys do. I understand that. And I understand from a fan perspective, don't let my coach speak make you think that, like, I know the fans want to know. So does UNLV. Yeah, so does UNLV. I was telling Terrence earlier, there's more to this now than there was 10 years ago. If I announce that Johnny's a starter, his agent's going to call. The backup agent is calling him, saying, hey, I can get you out of there. Is that going to happen Saturday? Yeah, but let's at least get to Saturday. Like, that's my philosophy, right? There's more to this now, and I understand the fans want to know, and I want the fans to know. But there's more to this. There's some guys in that locker room that are really fighting to be the starter. And they're not at a position from a preparation standpoint to be told they're not the starter, because as soon as you tell them you're not the starter, their preparation changes. Right? So we're dealing with a different demographic. We're dealing with a different age group. We're dealing with 71 new players. Like Thursday, we're going to have to tell some guys they're not traveling. It's a different conversation.
You know less, though, than you would have 3 years ago, just because they're all new. So many are new to you.
Yeah, I think, yeah. When you say, what do I know? I don't know how they're going to respond if UNLV runs open kickoff back. I don't know. those are the things that I don't know. Do I know personalities? Yes. It's kind of like until you've been in the fire with some guys, you don't know them fully. 10 years ago, you would have known how guys respond after a victory, after a loss. But I know enough to know they still need to be protected. I know enough to know that there are still outside influences that can affect their preparation. Like I tell guys all the time, the year we won the championship with Marshall, we started a different quarterback. The backup quarterback handled it better than anyone I've ever seen. 4 games later, he becomes the starter, and because he prepared for those 4 weeks with the mindset of, I'm going to be ready, not I want to transfer, or they're screwing me, or here we go again, he comes in and he becomes the Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year, wins us a championship. So I know how some of these things work, and trust me, I get it from a fan perspective, and the quarterback's only one position. There's got to be 11 starters. Actually, it's going to be the kickoff team or the kickoff return team. They really don't understand that. But there's going to be 11 starters, and there's going to be 11 heartbreaks. So how do you get them all prepared as if they're going to start? When you deliver the message, how do you respond or help them respond? At least they've prepared all week with the mindset of, I could run out here. Now, Thursday, Friday, when we have those conversations, the build back up is different. Hey, you're going to have a role. We just may go there first. So I just think there's a lot more to it than it was 10 years ago. There's a lot more. There are people looking at our roster right now. The reason I won't put a depth chart out. There are Power 4 teams scouting our roster. How do I know it? Because everybody's doing it. And I'm not saying I'm not against it. It is where we are. But the more information I give about how good a player is, hey man, this receiver, whew, man, I can't wait. Well, some P4 schools are going to write it down. And they're going to track it. Is that going to happen anyway? Yes, but I'm not going to do anybody else's homework. You have to watch the film. You go have to read these articles. You got to look at PFF. Like, I'm not going to do your homework, right? So I understand, and trust me, I'm not one of these coaches that think that things don't get out. I get that. But I do have a responsibility to protect these kids as long as we can. There are a lot more things that have infiltrated college football now that affect these kids that everybody doesn't think about. So I know, trust me, after the game, Jonah will know before kickoff who the starting quarterback is. He'll be able to get an interview with him. You'll be able to know who the starting center is. You'll know how good we are. You'll know if Coach Huff sucks. Like, all of it in 4 days. But until then, I've got to kind of protect the guys in the locker room until we can get them ready for that.
Yes. Leon Taylor with Ghost Tigers 247. Coach, UNLV is returning quite a few players on defense. Kind of explain what stands out to you about UNLV's defense.
I think they're ahead of us because they're in year 2. That is a huge, especially in today's college football world, that is a huge advantage that probably doesn't show up on the stat sheet. When you start talking about returning players, you're talking about a second year in a system. You're talking about a second year of questioning and comfortability. You're talking about coaches who have a second year of understanding what players can and cannot do. Sometimes a player may mess up, but that doesn't mean he can't do it. It just means he didn't do it right that time. But after you get a year, you can really start to foretell schemes, positions, right? Do we need to move a player from left to right or whatever it is? So their comfortability level should be really high for us. I mean, we went and did pregame warm-up Saturday. It looked like herding cats. But they've never done it, right? So, like, even how do you warm up before the game, right? That sounds like something so remedial. UNLV already knows how they warm up before the game. Like, so there are so many. Where do we went over to our hotel Friday night, and we did a Friday night mock. We had the Friday night dinner. Where do you sit? Where do I sit on Friday night? Well, UNLV already knows that. So we're kind of learning the new nuances about things that don't show up on you guys' reports. Like, UNLV kind of already has that. They know what a game day looks like as far as when can I start getting in flow state? When can I start reviewing film? What time do I got to be up for breakfast? A lot of that stuff is new for some of their guys, but a lot of their guys know that. For us, it's all new. So I think that's a little bit of the positive that they have going is that they got some continuity. They're in year 2, comfortability level is higher. And then to cap all that off, they got good players. I mean, they got some really good players on defense. A lot of the guys are bringing back playing a lot of football for them at a high level. So it's going to be a challenge.
Coach, you've seen a couple schools right now going from guys to NFL training camps, going back to college football. Do you have anybody on your staff, or you have any guys looking when guys get cut next week for NFL rosters? Will there be a chance they kind of make that jump over here?
We are waiting for true legal advice. We have a plan. If there's any opportunity for me and my staff to improve our roster, we're going to be aggressive with it. But just like we talked about maybe a couple weeks ago with the 2022 class, some teams brought some guys back, and then a week later or 2 weeks later they were ineligible. We're waiting for a little bit more stable legal advice before we start bringing kids in, calling kids, and that type of deal. But we have a plan if we get the legal advice that says this is a go. If we can improve our roster, we want to do that. But at the same time, we don't want to get so far out over our skis that we do something that's going to either hinder us from a legal standpoint, NCAA or with the judicial system, or we get a young man all fired up and ready to go, and then a week later you got to tell him he can't go. So we have a plan. We're kind of waiting for some solidified legal advice, but we always got a plan.
I know you're not going to tell us who the starting quarterback is, but can you?
I was going to tell you guys. I was literally going to tell you as I was walking out. He ruined it. Yep, just like I used to do with my brother. It was like a surprise birthday party. Ruined it, but no. Go ahead.
But can you at least walk us through the process of what that announcement looked like? Did you meet with the 2 guys before telling the team? How did you handle the guy who wasn't the starter?
Yeah, well, we haven't informed the team because we were supposed to do it in the midst of the storm. We met with the 2 guys. We let them know, hey, this is what we're looking at. This is what we're leaning toward. We were going to continue to evaluate because I wanted to see how either one would change, if that makes sense. So no one has been told as of today, hey, you're the starter. We told them, hey, this is where we are. This is what it looks like if we played today. This is what we would do. But we want to kind of see how this thing plays out this week. It was a little bit because of the storm, because I didn't want to tell the 2 players that I'm telling the team. So we are in process of doing that now, finishing that with the team. If that makes sense. Thanks for the storm. We had to delay it a little bit. Could have told you guys.
A little bit more mystery.
That's it. More mystery.
Jenner, the commercial appeal. Talking about quarterback.
Did you pick UNLV by 3? Did I read that somewhere?
I said that. I think I said it on the radio. Yeah.
Impressive. Okay.
Prove me wrong.
No, man. I work for you, man. I want you to be right. That's why I work for you.
I don't know about that. Speaking of UNLV's quarterbacks, I mean, Dan Mullen is doing the same thing, right? He's not revealing. How do you prepare for when, you've had to get a lot of time, obviously, but 2 quarterbacks, how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, again, like you guys, and I love you guys, but it's more important to you guys than it is to us because, again, if Dan Marino is the quarterback, we don't know what plays he's running. So we still have to worry more about us, if that makes sense. And if I'm Coach Mullen, I'm not telling him either. And there's a lot of things that could happen between now and then. But for us, again, it's not, hey, we're preparing for quarterback A differently than we're preparing for quarterback B. We're preparing how are we going to defensively align to the things that they typically do? How are we going to defensively adjust to the things that they typically do? I don't think there is such a drastic difference between what they're going to do. Like, it's not like Coach Mullen is calling a totally different playbook for A or B. He's going to put the guy in that best gives them a chance to win. So it's not, so for you guys, it's a lot. I get it, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it doesn't sway. Both of them are really good quarterbacks, and we got to be able to play the plays against both. So for us, it's more, how do we get our defensive calls, adjustments, checks, balance, all of these things into what they typically do. Whoever the quarterback is going to be a good player, Both of them have athletic ability with their legs. Both of them have strong arms. Both of them are experienced, so it's not like there's one freshman, one senior. Both of them have played a lot of football. So for us, there's not much of a difference. Like, we're not gonna be standing there with our sideline like, who are they sending? Who are they sending? Who are they sending? We're gonna send our defense out there. And we'll be looking, is it 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 22 personnel, right, run regular football. But it's not like we're gonna play a whole different type of defense for one guy versus the other. Same for them. Like, both quarterbacks for us are similar in style, right? So it's not like one guy's triple option and one guy is a statue. So they're preparing, I'm assuming, to play good defense against whoever the starter is, if that makes sense.
Coach, national story came out yesterday that you've added Coach Shannon to your staff. One, if you could talk about it, is that accurate? And two, what is he bringing to the table offensively?
Yes, we're still working through the red tape, but having him here a couple weeks ago, spending time with our staff, I've known Coach Shannon for a long time. As a young, inspiring African-American head coach, he was someone that I looked up to. As I continued to grow in the profession, I got a chance to, once I got on the road recruiting, I got a chance to meet him years ago and have had a relationship from afar with him. He and Coach Guidry have known each other for a very long time. I recruited South Florida for a long time when I was a position coach, so had those connections. Flip side, flip it back. He recruited Memphis for a very long time. He's very good friends with this Fred Smith family. He coached Cannon at the University of Miami, recruited Cannon. Memphis was one of his big recruiting areas. So there was a lot of familiarity there. He is not done coaching. He's just kind of in between right now. And we had him here a couple weeks ago. He spent about a week with us. He and Charlie Strong just kind of putting eyes on the program and kind of helping me as a head coach. One of the things that he has immense experience in, when Central Florida made the transition from Group of 6 to Power 4, he was on staff and worked closely with the AD and the head coach in that transition. So that experience helps me and our staff. It really capped it off when he was here for about a week. Mike Montgomery came in with half the linebacker room and said, "Coach, we got to keep Coach Shannon." I said, "Okay, well, I don't have the money to just lay around. I mean, this guy's, he was like, no, we got to keep him." So I said, "All right, you ask him to stay." So he went and asked him to stay, and then Coach Shannon kind of threw it back on me to go ask Coach Huff. So after we talked, and a lot of begging, to have him stay around, not only for what he brings to the players and experience-wise, but his connection to the city. When you start talking about having relationships with one of the pioneers of this city and one of the figureheads of what we do here at the university, it matters. And I'm not talking just a general relationship, recruiting his son and that whole deal. That was a big piece of it. The players pounding the table for someone they've been around for a week. Our guys are very secluded in who they kind of let into their personal space. And then the relationships that I and Coach Guidry have had with him, throughout his coaching career, I think it's going to bring immense knowledge. I think it's going to bring immense recruiting experience. We're going to recruit South Florida and the state of Florida when we really get out and get recruiting again in this 28 class. I think his knowledge of college football, playing the game, obviously coaching the game at a high level. And I think, again, the ability for him to he's in between jobs, so he's not looking to be the defensive coordinator at Memphis. He's not looking to be the offensive coordinator at Memphis. He just wants to help. So whenever you get people that want to help, my grandmother told me a long time ago, when help comes, let it help. So if he can help us, close the gap in any of those areas, I think it's going to be a true positive, not only for this team, but this university, this city.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.